Now that Betsy Johnson is here, we're going to start. We promise to wait. Welcome to the Bill and June Rogers Peace and Social Justice Lecture Series at Hanover College. I'm here to talk about what does that mean and why is it here? Well, I'm here because of them. I'm Mark Rogers, son of Bill and June. And the Rogers have had a long history with Hanover College. Let's talk Bill. Bill's grandfather came with his children to Hanover in 1916 so they all could go to Hanover College, and my grandfather graduated 100 years ago this year. And his great-granddaughter will be coming to Hanover College this coming fall, and with the Benjamin Templeton Scholarship. So we're very, very excited about that. My father, so why peace and social justice? I wanted to tell you a little bit of background of my parents. My father was in the Army of Occupation in Germany, World War II, and he saw that it had a profound effect on him. He saw the devastation and saw the effects of war and took peace very seriously. His little brother said he went away to war, a fun older brother, and he came back a serious man. My mother grew up in Cincinnati, and her brothers both went to Hanover College, but they didn't, came from a modest family, and she was a girl, and they did not put up the money for her to go to Hanover College. She went to University of Cincinnati, and I think that had a profound effect on her. My father was pretty cerebral with his sense of social justice and peace, and my mother was very visceral in her experience of fairness and peace and justice. And but they made a great team. They went to McCormick Seminary and then teamed up. I'm not going to give you their whole resume, but a couple of highlights. When I was born, we lived in Georgia, and they were at the University of Georgia helping to integrate the school in the 50s. And I think one reason why you really didn't hear much about the struggle to integrate the University of Georgia was because of them, because they did a lot of work to help integrate black students through their mission, through their work, and it was a peaceful transition. But they did have to leave the South and go up to New York. Their time at Cornell, they fell in love with Brazil. They did Brazil projects with students and really worked hard, saw the poverty, the totalitarianism in Brazil, and also fell in love with the culture, and helped many Cornell students and others appreciate that country and helped to create an ecumenical seminary in Brazil. My mother, I think, would well described by what's on Alex's t-shirt that I'll let you see when you get up here. She, as an early feminist, she worked really hard to help create the Tompkins County Child Development Center. I think I got the name wrong, but basically it's if women are going to be able to work, they need child care. And she was out working for that at an early age. Among other things, she found out that her youngest children were dyslexic, and so she started the first association for children with learning disabilities in the local area, et cetera, et cetera. And they went through their whole life in that way. And before my father passed away, they thought, how could they merge their history with Hanover and with their work in social justice and peace. And this lecture series has come from that. And my mother's been able to attend all of them up until tonight. She passed away just a few months ago, but she is definitely here. And thank you all very much for being here as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Leo Carnicelli and I'm a junior here at Hanover College. I also have the privilege and the honor to serve in the committee that oversees this speaker series. I'm here to talk to you guys about what our committee does. So our committee members include David Harden, Dr. Ursula Pelt, Dr. Ruth Turner, Dr. Catherine Knott as a chairman, me, Leo Carnicelli, as a student, Simone Henderson, another student, and Louis Holbrook, another student, and Mark Rogers himself as a member of the Rogers. We also have Janet Lowry, Dr. Nasser Shahanpour, who's on sabbatical this year, and a special thanks to Reverend Katharina Package Bundy. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And a special thanks also to the Rogers family for allowing us to have this legacy at Hanover. So one special thing that we have in our committee is, I don't know if you guys all noticed, that we have a large array of representatives from the Hanover Presbyterian. We have students, we have faculty, and members of the community to bring the voices that are on our campus together and talk about issues that are relevant to our community. And yeah, so we are the committee and we get together once every month to plan this wonderful event and to organize this speaker series. So thank you very much.
First, I just want to make sure, does everyone have a copy of this handout? Yes. So for more than 10 years, Alex Kimmel has been speaking to communities and inspiring professionals and students across the country about inclusion, diversity acceptance, neurodiversity, and a culture of gentleness and self-determination. He is also the recipient of the Robert Thomas Support Professional Award, recognizing social workers with exceptional concern for individuals' intellectual and developmental disabilities. Alex joins us tonight to discuss a culture of gentleness, a spiritual journey through the lens of neurodiversity. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Alex Kimmel.
Serenity, Hanover College 2020. Notes before starting. Because I like to really think of how to best answer your questions, I appreciate you emailing your thoughts at alex.kimmel@hotmail.com instead of the traditional questions and answer session. There are different ideas of how to refer to people. Some are fans of the person first language, as in person with autism. Some prefer identity first language, such as autistic person. You can visit autisticadvocacy.org. For a more in-depth briefing on identity first language. I prefer identity first language and will use terms like autistics. Of course, calling me Alex or Your Majesty works for me too. Overview of our time together. 1. Study aspects of the Serenity Prayer. 2. Examine the pillars and tools of the culture of gentleness. 3. Consider social norms, neurodiversity, and acceptance. 4. And then, you are not done hearing my wise thoughts. So you write down my contact info and ask me to come speak to your group. Call me. The Serenity Prayer. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept stupid people the way they are, courage to maintain my self-control, and wisdom to know that if I act on it, I will go to jail. Wait, that's not right. Serenity Prayer. This is the first stanza. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Grant. The 5 highlighted words are appropriate and worth looking at. The first is grant. Can you think of some synonyms? Work with a partner on the list on synonyms. Words that have the same meaning for grant. You will have 1 minute. Go ahead and start. Time's up. Grant, fund, endow, allow, contribute, award, permit, concede, present, give, bestow, go along with. The idea of granting is but a transfer of a commodity from the current owner to someone lacking and standing in need. How good that God grants to us who are in such lack and need. Serenity. The next highlighted word is the first word in the title. This seems to capture the point the entire prayer. Not wealth, not power, not happiness, serenity. The thought of drinking blood spilled for my redemption unites me to Christians the whole world over. Joining the fellowship of all believers as an equal is amazingly freeing and gives me peace. Accept. Accept the things I cannot change. This is the hardest part for me, since there is so much that I would want to change. Excuse me. For example, it is hard to be this good looking and intelligent. LOL. But seriously, there are many things that I would like to change. One thing that I would change in a heartbeat is how hard it is to communicate with everyone. More often than not, I am either talked to like I am a preschooler. If you could not talk to me like I'm a toddler, that would be great! Or even worse, I am ignored. That longing to fit in, you belong, that you all have is the same for me. That I am not currently able to really talk like many can is daily challenge to accept, but that is what I must do. Not accepting what God has chosen for me would be like losing out twice. Once for the difficulty in communicating, and second, by missing out in the blessing I am confident He has planned for me. Courage. Courage to change the things I can. Courage is a balance to acceptance. Acceptance without courage leads to a stalled life. Courage without acceptance often is done without a purpose. For any forward motion or accomplishment, there must be risk involved. This requires courage to go beyond our current circumstances, knowing as Christians that we were bought at the precious cost for a king's purpose is good fuel for starting hard tasks. I have the privilege of speaking to groups at the local, state, local, state, and national level. They contract me to share with them ideas of inclusion, acceptance, and neurodiversity. This public speaking ministry is my way of balancing acceptance and courage. One of the concepts I like most to share about is the culture of gentleness. The ultimate goal of gentle teaching, culture of gentleness, is to teach all persons to live together, to live in the confluence of community life, to love, to work, to live, and to play together. John Mitchie. Great concept. Think this unity philosophy was around even before Mitchie. Finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic. Love one another, be compassionate and humble. 1 Peter 3:8. To me, like-minded does not mean identical. Like-minded means having the same purpose. Only three things in life matter. God has a purpose for all of the world. Living that captures that purpose in all that you do is the meaning of life. Helping others through their quest only gives your purpose more traction. Third, do all things pleasing to God, and God will pour out His blessing. In culture of gentleness, the ultimate goal is all about love. The philosophy is to build safe, loving relationships where all feel valued. The culture of gentleness asks to respect the terms on the person on their terms, not on societal or other norms. The pillars of culture of gentleness have a hierarchy. You can't feel loved till you feel safe. You can be loving and engaged once you are safe and loved and valued. To me, the only way to be able to accept me is to respect my needs to feel safe and loved. The culture of gentleness is a philosophy I embrace because it lets me decide what I view as safe and loved. My definition of my culture of gentleness is putting tools and systems into place that let me feel respected as we navigate through my particular neurological preferences. I have identified individualized supports, having great impact on letting me live life with less anxiety, helping me to focus on my goals and feel that I am understood and respected myself, and let me keep the environment considerate of my sensory needs. There are things that impact my effectiveness that I need you to help me manage. Being mindful of the senses is a big part of keeping me focused. In particular, my heightened senses of hearing and smell are challenging. Many things that others tolerate are bothersome to me, to the point sometimes of discomfort, anxiety, or pain. One of the things that I have a problem with a sudden noise that I have not been prepared for. This is anxiety provoking whether the outburst had positive or had negative onset. I am thankful about people that respect letting my wiring and processing have equal worth to theirs. Every person has a different idea of what it takes to be safe, loved, loving, and engaged. A big component to how we move toward these positive places is how we are approached. From the start, it is about investing time in the relationship. Friendships, relationships, and community belonging are critical aspects, if not the most universally valued condition of quality of life. National Core Indicators, July 2015. NCI is a voluntary effort by public developmental disabilities agencies to measure and track their own performance. The core indicators are standard measures used across states to assess the outcomes of services provided to the individuals and families. Indicators address key areas of concern including employment rights, service planning, community, inclusion, choice and health, and safety. Loneliness and quality relationships have been identified as an area that needs improvement. You can learn more at www.nationalcoreindicators.org. Connections with people improve. Well-being, happiness, positive health outcomes, increased opportunities in housing, employment, independence, interdependence. With who and where I feel safe. Here are some of my concepts of safe, loved, and valued. One of the things that I have to consider is how the people in my life think of my intelligence when I do not have access to assistive technology and I cannot fully communicate with them. This respect is greatly important in my ability to let me get to the point where I can trust them. For me, then, it is important that I am talked to as an equal. What makes me feel safe? You make me feel good. Top of the list for me is keeping positive, to keep me having hope and help me to remain optimistic. This is helpful to let my anxiety keep submerged. Thinking that keeping promises is honoring the elevation of trust and therefore accessing safety. You are wonderful. People who tell me that I am helpful or wonderful keep giving me the idea that the possibility is growing that more will have positive assessment of my mind. What makes me feel loving? One of the things that help create climate that allows heart to forge forward with love is the idea that they already care for me. One way that allows people to have me want to share feeling of kindness is for them to invite me so I know that I am wanted. You're wanted for a party! Every person has a different idea of what it takes to be safe, loved, loving, and engaged. The 4 tools help establish those 4 pillars. Culture of gentleness tools: eyes, touch, words, presence. Positive use of tools. Turn to a partner and take turns sharing positive use of the 4 tools: eyes, touch, words, presence. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead and start. Time's up. Positive use of tools. Eyes, soft, engaged. Touch, gentle, encouraging. Words, respectful, positive. Presence, genuine acceptance. Turn to a partner and take turns sharing negative use of the four tools. Eyes, touch, words, presence. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead and start. Time's up. Negative use of tools. Negative use of tools can convey eyes, rolling impatience, touch, control, intolerance, words, demands, belittling, presence, disrespect, indifference. Eyes. One thing that I would have to get those who are interested in conversations with me is to respect that when people ask to keep eye contact with me, I have challenged to hear their words. Allow me to have right to have eye contact according to my comfort, knowing that I thrive on connecting and am carefully minding everything you say. One thing that would help is getting more safe offers from people to join them. That often helps have more confidence about inferior me initiating eye contact. Don't make 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 eye contact. What would help me is to accord feelings, avoid nonverbal eye gestures that show me that I am not welcome, such as rolling the eyes and furrowing the eyebrows. Don't you roll your eyes at me, young man. Touch. One of the ways that I ask to have right, welcome touch would help me feel more certain that I am accepted having them approach me, having first gotten my attention, and approach me face first. Words. The access to words will get the anxiety diminished, with helping to have trust that what I want is understood. I would prefer the words that I have to hear speak only about positive and keep optimistic. Presence. How the presence is best felt preferred will value me by checking in to make sure that I am not just present, but also engaged. Just being there for someone can sometimes bring hope when all seems hopeless. Think that having help with just being there when underscore that I am safe. Clarify safe, loved, and valued. Clarify your own concept of feeling safe and loved or valued. Work on the questions on your worksheet. You will not be asked to share your responses. It is okay if you do not finish. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead and start. Time's up. How one person desires a tool to be used and holds positive, another may see as negative. It is very important to respect each individual and not assign your filter or desires on their perception. The positive use of the four tools is important throughout any relationship. The 6 elements focus on the different parts of interpersonal interactions. 6 elements: safe and loved, positive interactions and demands, structure and transition. It is important to keep in mind that safety is different for every person, and that each person defines what safe looks and feels like. The same goes for demands. Let each person define what is demanding or draining. Let each person lead as to what supports and structure are needed to remain feeling safe, loved, and positive. Positive interactions. The things that I am terming as positive would be times when I was treated as welcome equal and having the desire to have me included. Demands. Think that there are several thoughts on demands. What I think is the most important to recall is that until you feel safe, everything is a demand. Feeling safe and loved is the absolute foundation. Moving forward to demands, structure, and transition will not be positive unless there is a knowledge of safety and value. People who may see culture of gentleness not working are likely wrongly measuring success by whether their agenda or task list was completed rather than ensuring the groundwork of safe and loved was laid. I'd like to teach about the concept of neurodiversity. Spreading the philosophy of neurodiversity would be a great way of helping teach that we are same beings more than we are different. Celebrate neurodiversity. Neurodiversity and acceptance. Neurodiversity is the celebration of those that operate other than what most of the world considers to be normal, and to help society to realize no one really has the right to name what someone else's normal should be. There are great errors when we continue to measure everyone by the same neurotypical standards. I often feel accepted rather than accepted. There are few places that I am feeling greatly accepted of who I am. The ways that I manage great and constant anxiety often seems to make neurotypicals, those currently without neurologic disability, anxious. Often I will have self-talk, where I repeat movie dialogue that reflects what emotion I am feeling but can't find my words to express right then. So there are movie excerpts that I have chosen to work out, and that helps to release and that serves to dampen my anxiety. The problem with interjecting the neurology of those without autism onto my choice of calming tends to agitate both of us. They are frustrated that I am not adhering to the social norm that one does not chatter in public to oneself, and I am frustrated because this one actually does need to chatter, and I should have the right to have some say. In one involvement that social norm and many other norms have to take into consideration for societal norms to be truly representative and inclusive. The lesson for people regarding inclusion is more than time allowing access or tolerating someone's presence. The real thought about inclusion that is meaningful has to start first by communicating that all are welcome and all are valued. Self-determination teaches that the core value of responsibility respects individuals with disabilities. Having the responsibility as well as the capacity to be making contributions to the communities where they live. I have been fairly steadily involved at my church. When I was a little boy, I was on children's lesson and going to Sunday school to draw and coloring in the rainbow room. When I got older, I helped stack up the chairs every Sunday. I remember wearing a church robe to light and put out the candles. The second public part of being confirmed is to make a public statement based on your confirmation verse. This is my confirmation essay, responding to my confirmation verse of Psalm 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The pleasant idea of being a sheep with Christ as my shepherd is altogether appealing. Sheep have it made. God is right on about the comparison. First, the sheep are forever getting lost, meaning they tend to wander. Unless under vigilant and constant supervision, they are destined to nothing but challenges and finally, bold death. That is no different from my destiny. Left to my own desires and will, I choose chaos every time. Like a sheep having no sense in doing the right thing, I am also vastly lost. I need a shepherd to gently guide me through the pitfalls life throws at me. I recall Lent of 2006 was fairly rough. We had just gotten back from Syracuse and training, and I was able for the first time to truly and fully communicate here, at home, and school, and community. My mom could not wait to get into confirmation the first time and have me participate. The first thing I typed to her was, "But only, I do not believe in your God." No amount of convincing riddles would sway notion of there being no God. I could not beckon a God intimidating me into submission. Institutions of religion had been the place I had felt the most rejection and intolerance. No God who would allow such testing like mine in the realm of prodigies of intelligence was worthy of my allegiance. But thank you both Mom and Voice Over My Heart did not relent on their intercessions. They timed the nagging and love just right on that one. About Palm Sunday, I asked Mom to pray with me to reinstate the Holy Spirit firmly in my heart. I do not think I could have negotiated that treacherous precipice without my good shepherd picking me up and carrying me through. That was a while ago. Since then, not so much as a day goes by that I do not call on my shepherd. No matter what kind of trouble I have gotten myself into, no matter how many rescues he has already launched on my behalf, no matter how far I have strayed, my shepherd comes for me. He calls for me and understands my voice, and I his voice. And that is why the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now I sing in the choir and read the weekly lessons to the congregation, participate in Bible studies, and have turns doing PowerPoint, worship assistant. Feeling that there could be more participation and far more work being done if gifts were considered, rather than having only formula that all must follow. That could be forged with having tasks for school, volunteering in the community, or at church. To have more than the neurotypical person in mind. There could be intentionally created positions where there is no prerequisite of having the ability to speak, so those without typical communication could participate. Having tasks described, thinking of non-readers, and using clear visuals and checklists would allow diverse populations opportunities to have participation. Turn to someone next to you and tell them your name and say yes or no to whether your worship place or club or committee has done a gifts or talents survey of members. Have your team raise your hands when you are done. Stand up if you answered yes. Wave at each other and then sit down. If you have ever given or heard a sermon on time, treasure, and talents, please do 5 backflips. Answer spontaneous questions. Raise your hand. Stand up. Each of the arrow may be difficult and actually distance the audience from participation belonging. Plan your time together to be inclusive for all attending, respecting communication, processing time, visual supports, for auditory directions and physical supports. Inclusion is not a strategy to help people fit into the systems and structures which exist in our societies. It is about transforming those systems and structures to make it a better for everyone. Inclusion is about creating a better world for everyone. Diane Richler, past president, Inclusion International. Universal design is now standard for architecture. We don't want to retrofit buildings to make them accessible. We want to build them that way from the start. What would it look like for this vision to be extended to the worship services we plan and lead and for all ministries of the church? Feel encouraged to swap out worship services we plan and lead and for all ministries of the church with club, group, committee you participate in. What if we didn't need to retrofit our planning to be accommodating to persons with a wide range of abilities and disabilities, but planned them that way from the start? When universal design elements are in place, many more people can find a home in worship. In fact, the worshiping community as a whole will benefit from changes and additions, making them universally helpful. At times, additional adaptations are needed to strengthen the contributions of individuals with particular needs or challenges. It's good to ask them, how can we best welcome and serve you? What ways is your church, group, club, committee intentional in its physical design to welcome all? What ways is your church, group, club, committee intentional in its practices and programs to welcome all? What ways does your church, group, club, committee have barriers in physical practices or programming, and is not intentional in welcoming all. Turn to a partner and take turns sharing. You will have 5 minutes. Go ahead and start. Time's up. Do not confuse intentional needs with special needs.
People with Down syndrome have special needs. Special needs? Really? It would be special if people with Down syndrome needed to eat dinosaur eggs. That would be special.
One dinosaur egg. Enjoy.
If we need to wear a giant suit of armor, that would be special.
I got a condo in Manhattan. Baby girl, what's happening? So gonna get to clapping. Go pop a phone.
It would be special if we needed to be massaged by a cat. If we needed to be woken up by a celebrity.
Wiki, eggs and bacon. Where are you? You may know me from Scrubs or Office Space. A few darker flicks. The Rock, Platoon, Wall Street. Funny story, I played Ben.
Out.
My bad.
That would be special. But what we really need is education, jobs, and opportunities, friends, and some love. Just like everybody else. Are these needs special?
The right to belong is innate to respecting that all are worth the chance to be included. The thought I am involved with being a disability rights advocate is something I am proud to claim. I am a graduate of Michigan Youth Leadership Forum. I am contracted to train new hires, at the Macomb Oakland Regional Center on Self-Determination. I am certified peer mentor available to contract through Medicaid. I am a trainer for Developmental Disability Institute of Wayne State University and Land. Shameless plug here for my speaking business on self-determination and inclusion. The thought that I have disability pride does battle with my strong philosophy that inclusive communities are places all are worthy, just because they were created with or without a disability. Understand that I get nervous that I am going to be perceived and treated like someone who is not fully human or someone who is inferior and lesser. The most important thing that would make for a world of difference is to quell the silent blaring of fear that I would be rebuffed or ignored when I do take the risk of wanting to team up with universal need to connect and belong. Positive thinking. I am wanting to respect words if they are positive. They have the way to utter feeling of being accepted, and there is hope for me to then share love. The hope is like the courage of our serenity prayer, which brings us to the last word, wisdom. And wisdom denote the difference. There is no wisdom but from God. Today, we sit in the company of others, but our time together here is nearly done. Only we are not alone. How we should make the most of our time together